I think everyone can see my whole screen here.
Yeah.
When you land on the revenue analyst, this is what you see. Tiffany Gonzalez, she works for Graph IQ and one of Iceberg's partners, and she ran RevOps at early days at Microsoft and at Amazon, and is an actual like great mind in RevOps. And so some of what's built into here are her ideas too, things that help make this even stronger than if I had built it myself. And I'm gonna skip a step here because authentication opens up all of our clients in HubSpot, and I don't want to show our client list here. But this is where you start. It sort of explains how it works, and then once you fill out a form, we get the data. We're trading what I think is massive value for data on who you are and your level of maturity because we see the output of this without getting any of your actual data. And you go through and you fill out a questionnaire. And in the background, right now, there's an agent looking at the metadata in my HubSpot. I authenticated my HubSpot, and it's looking at how many pipelines do we have, how many records are there, a bunch of deterministic checks like how many opportunities are in an advanced stage with no amount? How many opportunities are owned by users that are flagged as inactive? How many deals are past due but still open, and on and on. So it's looking for all of these common sales ops issues and a bunch of other things. And so you go through and you tell it about your company, you explain a few things, and I'll actually go through one or two of these steps live with you. So we're small. I do all of our selling. Let's see. That's not a good one for me, but let's say board metric preparation is tough. I'm going to say we don't have an ICP. We actually do, but for speed's sake, if you give us your ICP, another agent is going to be looking at your CRM and trying to understand, can we track this ICP based on the fields I see in the values? And it's going to guess which fields actually speak to the ICP. And if you, and then it's going to try to give you a sense for whether you can actually track your ICP the way you say you can in your CRM. And what we find over and over and over again is, hey, this small number of accounts or companies in your CRM where there were past deals have great ICP information. And then there's this sea of accounts that have stale or missing ICP information. You actually don't have your total addressable market mapped out in your CRM. We see that all the time, so it's something it's checking for. Um,
Taft, two questions.
yeah,
So you're showing, so you already have an app that's hosted somewhere that we as a community can use. Am I getting that right?
yes, that's correct.
Okay, because the previous sessions was closed skills that you download and things, but in your case, you already have an app that's hosted, and what you're showing is that you make it available for free in exchange for people signing up and giving a bit of information. Is that understanding correctly?
Exactly.
Okay, okay. And then on the ICP, we didn't quickly. So some people call ICP their accounts, other people their personas. In this case, you're talking about the persona or the account?
I'm talking about the company. What companies do we want to sell to? What are
Okay,
our ideal company customers?
okay. Ideal customers. Cool.
Um, and so we ask about how do they make money essentially? What sales motion do they tend to use? We only track new business in our CRM, so we've skipped a few questions about how you actually track new business. This, because I think narrow is good, focuses on new business. We call out in our marketing material that goes out later, hey, we saw you have other pipelines. We can analyze those too. Come talk to us. Um, and so we truly only track new business in our CRM. And the amount field is what we use for all revenue forecasting, which then once I go to the next screen, the agent is looking at the fill rate on amount across a bunch of records to understand, can we actually get a good pipeline number? Is our pipeline number trustworthy? And so I choose which pipeline has new business, which sales stage is associated with like my definition of pipeline. For some companies, they may not have thought of that yet. They can click no. And so now it knows which subset of my deals should I really focus on to make sure that they have expected fields filled out. And then we don't ever close deals for administrative reasons, like accidentally created a duplicate deal. If so, you can call these out so that the numbers are more accurate. And then sales process. When a deal is in pipeline, what should be filled out? It guesses, and then you can use this to search for other options. Essentially, what do you expect every pipeline deal to have? Well, it needs to have an amount, it needs to have a next step, and when a deal is won or lost, what are the fields I expect to be filled out? And it's going to go check whether these expectations are actually met in the data. And you'd be amazed how often the numbers are way off relative to what people expect. And then the last thing it's going to do, we're using an actual agent here. So it is taking what it's learned and has the option to come up with questions for us to clarify things. And so let's see, when a deal comes through a partner, do you fill in deal source? Yeah, we have a deal source field that's filled in pretty regularly. We sometimes skip it, but should fill it out in theory always. And then active deals, does the amount field represent total contract value? It's total contract value. And then it's allowed to ask a couple loops of questions to clarify things it needs to know to build a report. And it takes a couple minutes. So I'm going to skip to a finished report for us. And I get an analysis that takes into account my company size and revenue, and will say like where do I fall relative to what the agent thinks of as my peers. And the executive summary is pretty powerful. I have copied and pasted this several times because we get permission from all clients to use our agentic tools on their systems. I have copied and pasted this several times since I built it and gotten great responses from CROs who say, "Wow, I didn't realize we had this issue," or "I didn't know this was something we needed to address." I'll share the deck I'll show you in a minute that has screenshots of these if you want to read through them more carefully. What are the 3 projects based on what we've seen that we think you should consider? These are usually pretty good. Sometimes they don't align with people's actual roadmap, but I think it's a nice piece of value. And sometimes there are things in here that people haven't even considered. And then blind spots. As a CEO, I want to know, what are the numbers that I actually can't trust or can't glean from my data today? And then I like for AI to show its work. I don't like black boxing. And so we can see all of the issues that it found and why it surfaced them and how it worked its way into the executive summary. And so you can see a bunch of the checks, warnings, positive things it found, and then critical issues.